What's up, bros? Welcome to the Men of Mind podcast. I'm Omar Bravo, and this is the podcast all about badass knack bros and their journeys through life. From the bad beats and the lessons learned to the mountaintop successes and advice they'd give their younger selves, this is your chance to get to know these bros better. In this episode, I talk with John Marcoida, HFF Chapter founding father number 14 from Santa Clara University. Órale. Mr. Marcoida.
Good morning, sir. How you doing today?
I am fantastic, brother. How you doing? It's good to see you, my man.
It's good to see you, man. How's life?
Oh, life is wonderful, man. Life is wonderful. Check it out. You even wearing your leather sweatshirt today, man?
Oh, I figured I'd be in uniform for today, Might as well fit the rhyme scheme.
I dig it, man. Damn, it's been a while. You don't change, though. You look the same, brother. You're looking good.
Well, when you've been as bald as long as I have, everyone just says, Marcoida, you never age. I'm like, I know, because my hair looks the same pretty much, except there's a little more salt with that pepper.
I was just gonna say, man, you don't even have the gray goat happening yet, man. It's good.
Oh, it's there. I was fighting the fight where I was pulling it, and it just reached a point where I was like, man, there's just patches of where there's supposed to be hair. Like there's you just gotta let that go, and just some fights you just gotta quit.
I try to fight in it, and then I'm like, forget it. I'm shaving. I'll just shave.
Yeah. So there's nothing to it. But then my wife doesn't like it when I am clean shaven, because she can see my face. Yeah. So apparently, I don't know. There's something about my face she's not attracted to. So as long as I have the beard and the goatee, she's like, all right, cool. But if my face is exposed, it's there's a problem. Or if my glasses are off, I'm like, okay, so I just wear a mask. So.
The pandemic's been good then, because you masked. So
yeah. Well, except for November, because I'm always like, well, am I going to go all beard, or am I? And it's always during the one of my daughter's birthday months, and they always want to take Christmas pictures.
Yeah,
all
right.
Your mustache, you look like like a creeper, or or like one year I had a handlebar, because I was like, dude, I don't want this freaking. Or you're saying it's a freaking porn stash or a creeper stash, so I'll make it a handlebar stash. And there was a problem because it looked like a handlebar. I'm like, all right, well, I don't know what to tell you. So another year I went Chewbacca, and just went all and we would gone to where did we go? We went to Florida. We went to Disney World, and during that trip, we transferred from November to December. So they were all happy because I was just furry. And actually the day either the last day or the first day of the new month, I don't remember, I wore a Buzz Lightyear shirt, and it said Buzzworthy, because I definitely needed to get a cut. So it was definitely cool.
Good, man. It's so good to see you. It's been a long time. I don't know if I think I was out for maybe in 2011 or something, and we might have got together, but if it wasn't then it was a whole bunch before then. So other than Facebook and Instagram and the random stuff that I see, I'm completely out of the loop. So I appreciate you taking the time to hang out a little bit. And I've been starting all of these podcasts the exact same way. And that's by asking the question. So as not to assume, are you married with kids, or are you single and ready to mingle?
I am married with children. I have 3 children. My son, his name's Jacob. He's 25. My daughter is Liliana. She's 18. And my other daughter is Marley, and she recently turned 12.
Goodness gracious, that's awesome. Gosh, that's a whole nother level. I got 5 kids, but my oldest is 9. So I'm haven't reached those advanced stages with all the advanced issues and life adventures. So you're at a whole nother scenario than I'm at.
Yeah, they're all in different stages, and it's kind of the way I look at it is, when I'm finally done paying off one college, and I'll get to start with the other one. Yeah, that's the way. 6 years apart, cool, we can fade that. But you've got them all in a pack, so it's just a matter of time before, if you're not already overpowered, they just control your world, and you're outnumbered. I mean, you're already outnumbered. It's just a matter of convincing them that you're the bigger dog, and once they figure out you're not, you're done, kid.
Yeah, well, the way that my wife and I have talked about it often is you go from a double team to man to man to zone. And once you're playing zone, you're playing zone. It doesn't matter if it's
Yeah.
3, 5, 7. It doesn't matter. It's zone. Like there's only so many hours in the day. There's only so much I can do. I'm just doing something all the time. And
the only difference is, am I taking the left or the right, or are you taking the inside and I'm taking the outside? Those are the only two ways you can play that zone.
Yep.
It's either stretched out or laterally. So you got to figure it out.
Yeah. And so I bark loud.
Cool.
and hope they don't call my bluff. Sooner or later they will, but for now it's you put some bass in your voice and that's where you go.
Yes. I don't know bass. I have no power. Everyone's just over. Like my 12-year-old is 5'10", and so she's like taller than her sister and her mom, and she does her own thing. So I'm like, okay, whatever.
She got the Marcoida height, huh?
Oh yeah, she did, man. She definitely is a tall one.
Good for her.
Yeah. She's still trying to get used to it.
I got tons of questions, man. I got so many things that I never got to ask you, or we never got into it. First off, so you're from San Jose, right? Like,
yes,
born and raised.
Never really left this area. Probably never will. But yeah, pretty much from what I can remember, most of it was on like the eastern region of San Jose. There's a lot of different parts of the east side. Some are better than others, and probably more in the better parts of the east side, I'd say I grew up. And then I went to Santa Clara.
How'd you guys end up in San Jose? Or is your family like from San Jose since San Jose was Mexico? Or what's that story?
Let's see. My grandmother on my dad's side was here in the Orchards with her family. So they were kind of like from California. And then my grandfather came over the border, met my grandmother. I think to the dismay of my great grandparents, for some reason, like they were like, oh, like he was just a Mexican immigrant. Like you're here. Like it was kind of like even a split in between our own culture and the way things were going progressing, even though she was still in the Orchards. And then my grandmother, my grandparents on my mom's side were on the East Coast, because that's where they were born and raised, and they ended up out here because my grandfather was in the Navy and he got transferred out to Moffett Field. So they came out from New York to California just under the assumption that eventually they would end up going back, and then they just never went back.
And where were their origins from? Were from New York, and before then they come across the boat?
Yeah, well, let's see. My great grandmother on my grandmother's side, she's German, from Germany. She's got like 13 like siblings or something, like 11 to 13 siblings. I just remember like one of these big old ancient 1800 looking photographs with like everybody in there looking all serious, like and there was like a shitload of kids. I know like 2 of them like were captured in the war. And they were on the German side. And then my grandmother ended up getting out of there with my great grandmother ended up getting out of there. And then she met my great grandfather, I think, in New York. And that's where they were both German immigrants. And then they met and had my grandmother. Then on my grandfather's side, on my mom's side, they were Italian.
Okay.
But my grandfather had a couple brothers and sisters, but his mom had died when he was young, and then his dad remarried someone. So like it was funny because there was a Joseph. He was a Joseph from his family. My grandfather's name was Joe Maffey Joseph, and he had a brother named Joseph, I believe, because there was a step brother that came with the other family whose also name was Joseph, popular Italian name. And so then they were just in the East Coast. I think they were doing Italian moving. They were moving furniture, I believe. As far as I know, that's what the family business was family movers. All the intricacies that are involved in family moving things in Italian New York.
So Italian, German, and then Is it Mexican?
Mexican, yep. 50% Mexican, 25% Italian,
There you
25%
go.
German.
All right.
That's
And then,
the mathematical equation when I talk to my
yeah.
students. We talk about percentages and of what you are and whatnot.
Well, so have you ever done the like an ancestry or a DNA or anything like that to
I actually have one that I've been sitting on to do. I have never like done it and turned it in, but I have a kit ready to go. I've had it for like a while now. Um,
they're really fascinating. I did mine a number of years ago, and it's I think you do it, and it's like I wonder if a family secret. I wonder if we're really from somewhere else, or I wonder if what it is. It's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, and my grandfather was adopted in Mexico, so like my last name is not really Marcoida. It's just the name that was given to him from the family that adopted him. From what I was told,
Interesting.
my last name, my real last name is Machado. That's just
Ah,
what I was told. I don't know, that's just what information I have. I mean, it's Marcoida or whatever. But when I look at Marcoidas, there's like a famous like artist in Spain named like Antonio Marcoida or something like that.
okay.
But
So that was one of my questions is because besides you and your brother, you're the only Marcoidas that I had ever run into. And so I was wondering where exactly that surname came from. So
I
Spain,
don't
yeah.
have like verified, validated information, but like through my history, I just remember picking up different facts and, whether or not I can recall like and reference them in order to prove authenticity, I can't. But from what I do know is like, um, uh, Marqueta is a last name that's from the Basque region of
There you
Spain.
go. Got it.
And so that's why it's kind of like off and it's like Marco in Ida and Marco Ida, and that's like how you say it. I always tell like when I meet my students every year, I tell them, well, you can say my name in Spanish with 4 syllables, or you can say it in English with 3 syllables. It really doesn't matter. And we go through like different linguistics behind it. Then there's like the kids who really want to say it in Spanish. Like that's cool, but even I don't say it in Spanish. So don't you can say it in Spanish if you want, but more often than not, kids are just going to call me this, and I'm good with that. And then they're like, okay. And so like after a while, like the kids who are saying in Spanish, like, this dude don't care. I'm gonna just call him in English. And we just go from there.
So San Jose, what was it like growing up in San Jose? You said that you were on the eastern region, but not necessarily at Story and King.
No, my dad was like probably the closest to there at one point where he was like, mm, like Story and King, I guess. Story and McLaughlin. Near like Little Vietnam, Little Saigon. And he lived in a different part of town. But yeah, I mean, I just was kind of like dealing with, just different variables at the time that made not so much living, but just my upbringing and just the social dynamics that were involved in like my life at the time, like growing up between like divorced parents and whatnot, and different choices like my parents were making that I was subject to, and but other than like having a safe place to live, it's always pretty much in a safe place.
How
Uh,
old were you when your parents split?
like 3, 4, something like
Okay,
that.
so you basically grew up with that dynamic.
Yeah, yeah. So definitely, it it was challenging at that time growing up, but it kind of serves me well in my current profession and working with children who are in like similar situations. So it makes me kind of absorb into some of the stuff that they would be off on that normally like other teachers who haven't been in that experience like don't really have a compassion for because they've never
They
experienced
just
this. So
don't
they're like,
understand it.
they don't understand it. Yeah, they're just ignorant to it. It's not really their fault, but they just don't understand what it's like to pass between houses and,
Mhm,
to be bringing, sometimes forget things at one house or,
mhm.
what it's like. And if you're compromised by, learning disabilities, or if those learning disabilities are brought on through trauma that you might be dealing with, there's always different variables in play. But yeah, so
Yeah.
since I was like 3, that's what I was dealing with. And just, parents didn't necessarily get along. And then they have their agendas, and you have to deal with them as the kid. I used to tell people like I used to feel like the rope
Mm.
in a tug of war between two entities, so to speak. And so yeah, that's just kind of, which also kind of serves me in my current job too, dealing with just different people who are like that.
Let's talk. You mentioned your current job a couple times now. Exactly, you're teaching and you're counseling. Is that right?
I mean, I think every teacher is a counselor in some
Sure.
degree, but no, I just teach. I teach sixth grade right now.
Okay. As a general, or
Yeah, I teach in a STEM school, and we have like a kind of a pseudo middle school um, setup. We serve grades 5 through 8. I do sixth grade, and like basically fifth and sixth graders have they have 6 classes, but they might have like they're going to have 2 classes with one teacher or 3 classes with one teacher. And so as a sixth grade teacher, I have 2 groups. One I see for 2 periods, and one I see for 3 periods, and then I get my prep on the 6th period.
and
And
what
so
subjects are you teaching?
I teach both classes, ELA and math. So I have an ELA so I have like 6A and 6B are like my cohorts. And then I have like 32 kids in each class.
Wow, that's a big class.
Yeah, but they have a big room too. Like, they're kind of hooked up, especially in these COVID times. Like I got 3 at a table, and I'm like sitting plush. They all have 3x6 tables, and it works out. But yeah, so then I'll teach like 6A. We'll have like, let's see, I have 6B first and second period for ELA and math, and then I get 6A fourth and fifth for ELA and math, and then 6th period is what we call our STEM class, and it's like robotics, technically pre-COVID, but right now we're just stocking it with a bunch of different STEM-based material, like teaching kids about STEM careers and how electricity works, and financial literacy and stuff like that. My partner teacher sets our curriculum, so I'm really blessed there because she's a rock star, and I just kind of come in like a daytime soap opera and read the script and put my own spackle on it and then go. But yeah, there's another interesting dynamic too, that this year I actually have my daughter as my student. So there's kind of no way around it. She's at my school and she's in 6th grade, and there's no other 6th grade teacher. So that's interesting.
Yeah. My wife's mom was a teacher, and she was a teacher at the school she was going to. Got her into a lot of really nice private schools but definitely a dynamic, right? I mean,
yeah, it is.
So and are you coaching there?
No, since I didn't choose to be in this current educational space, I was moved here. I was doing physical education, and I was loving life and living the dream and going to sleep in my sweats and waking up and working out 5 times a day and staying on my feet and being in shape, and then going home and not having to grade 65 essays and 65 tests and 65 of anything. And yeah, so now all my time is looking at like this wave, this educational wave, like that's just trying to stay ahead of my lessons and somehow get to past ones graded in enough time where everyone's placated. Like even right now, like I'm kind of, it's Thursday, we go back to school on Monday, and I'm like trying to get in mode of like getting to the grading that I've been pushing off all vacation, that I pushed off until the vacation. And once vacation hit, I was just like turned off, and now I have to start turning it on, and getting ready for a lot of different things time's going to fly this weekend. So I'm just trying to get ready for all that and the return to the second half of the school year.
That's right. And so you are you coaching rec?
No, I don't coach at all, man. I mean, I just
because coaching was a big part of your time before, right?
Yeah, it's a big loss too. Yeah.
And is it because of COVID, or is it just because of other obligations? You just haven't had the opportunity.
Timing, and just even my own health and COVID. And, we have like sports happening at school, but the other day, about 3 weeks ago, I was walking, but I do homework center, so I get it. They pay me to be there for an extra hour so kids can stay there and do their homework. Like, cool. And meanwhile, I just prep for my next day, which is what I would have normally been doing. So you're going to pay me to basically sit there? Cool. I'll take your money. And so then like after I was like walked to the bathroom because I had to go to the restroom. And when I came back, I saw them all out on the court and like saw some of my students out there. I'm like, oh, let me go out there. Then, like I saw certain students were doing certain things and I was like, hey, why are you letting this guy do this? Like you play over here, watch this. And like, I was like, I felt so good when I walked away. Like, I missed that so much. Even just and then me and my friends were playing pool the other day. And me and my friend, we're playing doubles. And I probably had the least experienced guy on my team. And so I'm like trying to talk to him about like hitting certain spots in the ball and making it go a certain way. We're rolling over, rolling behind. He's like, really? Like there's really certain parts of the ball you hit? I just always thought you just hit it right in the middle. I'm like, no, like not at all. Like, how do you think like I hit the shots I hit? I'm like, it's all now geometry. Like that's what I'm into. Like, this is why I love this game. And he's like, oh, so then I was like, and then like when I walked away from that, even I was just like, dude, I gotta go out and play pool with just that guy and just work with him. Like just because that's just like something that's in me, like I want to do. But when I take it with advantage of it when I can. But yeah, right now there's nothing on the coaching floor. And my daughters are not in the athletic space. They're kind of in the drama space, but then like with COVID, that's been on hold. So I don't really know what space they're in. Well, one's in college as a drama major. So we're just waiting to see like what she's doing. She's kind of getting in, more ground level classes. And so, there are auditionings happening and we're just like, what, are you going after these auditions or like, what's the deal? So she's kind of figuring out what she's trying to do. And then the other one is like, we just got her fully vaccinated. You reached the cusp of like, okay, well, she's about to be 12, but they're giving out these shots to kids who are 5. And but then they verified because they're only giving kids a third of the dose if it's 5 to 11 versus a full size. I'm like, my kid's 5'9", 5'10". Like
she needs
she's
the full
160
dose.
pounds. Yeah, she's full dose. And they're like, well, you just wait till she's 12 then. All right, cool. That's at the end of November. So we went through that cycle and now she's done. So I'm like, okay, well, now we need to get into some sort of space where you're doing something and we can encourage you for it. So it's kind of hard, with certain way certain kids are reacting to, coming out. And at the same time, we're over here looking at, we're getting all this information. We might get shut down for the return. Now
Is
there's
that
like
right?
there's pulling these 180s, like be prepared for going virtual. Like, oh, seriously? Like, I'm looking at things like, I'm looking at the NFL and they're just kind of look like they're just throwing all their rules into the wind. Like, all right, well, we had these rules. Now we're just like, we kind of don't have any rules no
Yeah,
more.
well,
Let's
they
play.
got tickets and money to make, right? I
They have
mean,
millions
so
of dollars and everyone's getting sick. And rather than getting stricter, it just seems like they're getting looser. I'm like, oh, okay. Like,
yeah,
whatever. I'm not playing football. I'm just watching it.
yeah. I think it comes down to as long as nobody's dying. It's like you can get sick as
Yeah,
long as you don't die.
they're like one of our athletes, like they're talking about Allen Robinson lost like 10 pounds and then he's like been dealing with it like the worst. And they're like, there's one guy out of all the rest of them that got COVID. The football players are doing fine. Let's just
Jeez.
step back. Yeah, I mean, there's all these different, politics around that and stress that we all carry, vicarious trauma that we carried like throughout, the whole process of this pandemic. It's just that this like sometimes you almost feel like if it's quiet enough, you could feel a hum, and that's like that layer of stress that like we just freaking like all stomach as parents, as educators. Like it's kind of rough.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to dig in. I got a question because I feel like we're in some ways cut from the same cloth with regards to. It seems like you have I don't know if it's just like an instinctual desire to help, to teach, to coach, to mentor, to share your knowledge. And I feel like I have that same thing, and I've spoken with a bunch of other people about how maybe in my mind it's like, oh, you mean everybody doesn't have this? Like you're not always trying to make the world a better place and share what you know and help people not make the same mistakes you made? And they're like, no, not trying to do that. But I feel like you definitely do. I mean, you're trying to, go give pool lessons to this rando. Where do you
Yeah,
think that
yeah.
comes from?
I think it comes from, in my upbringing. Oftentimes, I'm the only child of my parents, and going back and forth, oftentimes I was just kind of left to either entertain myself or to figure things out for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I do get from both of my parents is they're both very social. They both have that social gene, and so that just kind of got me out there. And then I realized, like growing up, there are a lot of different people that helped me. The ones that kind of taught me the most, you know, the most memorable lessons in my life were very firm with me, held high expectations for me, didn't let me get away with a lot, um, held me accountable. And often those people I failed and didn't really realize till like later in life what their intent was.
Mm-hmm.
And, then, going through my school in high school, it was like, there was a corporate line of being a man for others and going out and changing your community, whatever that community would be. Growing up with all the different experiences I had, I just kind of looked at like, I didn't even know who my community was, being the different ethnicities I was, not really having an ethnic identity for any of those. Just, it was like, when I went with my dad, it wasn't necessarily like I was getting too into my culture. I'd be at my dad's, every other weekend back then, visitation for your child was every other weekend you would go. Now they have like Wednesday visits on the weekend you're not staying. And, there's all these different kind of crazy things that are involved in child visitation. So like, 2 nights every 14, I would hang out with my dad. And what we would be doing then, he ended up going and having a new family and, getting into a different relationship. And as, growing up, that was hard for me to like process. And so, I just kind of like was just really just trying to, I would talk to my friends. I would give them advice about things that I thought. They would come back and they would say, "Hey, you know what? I did what you said. It worked." I was like, "Oh, okay." Well, so like very young, 6th grade, 5th grade, I was like, "Oh, I might be kind of good at this." And then I knew like when I was in 7th grade, I was like, I wanted to either be like a marriage and family counselor or
Wow.
or a child psychiatrist, because there are, things happening to me like that I did and didn't understand. And I wanted to make sure whatever was going on, like didn't happen to other kids, and didn't affect other kids. And I just always knew, like, I never wanted to be a teacher. Freaking hated teachers and gave teachers the business in high school and gave teachers the business my whole educational career, whether intentional or unintentionally, because they were both. Those both happened. I thoroughly believe I was what they call ADHD now. I thoroughly believe I was that then, but maybe I was just always called a fidget. I was always like told I was moving around too much, and I still am like that today. So I'm good with it. There are times that I'm sitting in like a meeting in the teacher's room, and I just have to stand up, and go and stretch out in the back of the room, or just walk in circles, and that's just the way I run. Like if I'm getting bored, like I have to do something. Like I used to twirl my pen and do all that in school, and then I'd piss everyone off because I dropped the pen twirling it, and I'd be like, "Oh shit!" But that's how I'd focus and concentrate. I'd be watching a teacher twirling my pen, and just like that's how I'd listen. Now they have fidget spinners and all these different like squeezy toys and whatever. Yeah, I was just told stop moving. So but I just realized that like in working with, one of the kids I worked with I was a day camp leader growing up from like 15 to about 22, 23. actually till officially 30. I worked for the Parks and Recreation Department for the city of San Jose. That was my first job, working with kids. And I had a kid in one of my camps that is my brother's age. My brother's 40 years old right now. And I had them when they were like 9, 10 years old. And I just remember telling him something. I was like, dude, like, I think we were trying to get him to talk to a girl or something. We're on like a field trip. We're like, dude, go talk to that girl. Like, go for it. And he was like, oh, no, what if she says no or something? And I was like, man, 9 times out of 10, they may say no. But that 10th time, it's going to be magic. And I'm like, but you got to get out there. He's like, okay. And he went and like did whatever we told him to do. And I don't remember specifically. So like fast forward to like later when we're in social media and he finds me like on Facebook and I'm like, hey man, how you doing? Like, what's up? You know, we caught up and he was like, I'm like, what have you been doing? He's like, oh, you know, I work with kids now and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, something you told me when we were younger, like has always like powered me through life. And he's like, you told me like 9 times out of 10, I might get told no, but that 10th time, it'll be magic. He's like, and that's always driven me like throughout my life. And like throughout, and I'm like, damn. I'm like, hey man, can I tell you where I got that from? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. Back then there was this VHS cassette tape and it was called The Best of Saturday Night Live, Eddie Murphy. And in it, there's a skit where it's called Guy Talk, and Joe Piscopo's in the skit, and he's like this macho guy, and he's like, "Yeah, this is Guy Talk, where guys get to talk like real guys. Like I got 2 guys here, I got Liberace and Michael Jackson, and like Eddie Murphy's playing Liberace, and so he tells like turns to Liberace, and he goes to Liberace, hey, you know, what do I tell a girl, you know, when I want to jump her bones? And then Michael Jackson starts laughing. Says, oh, that's exactly what I tell a girl. I say, hey, baby, I'd like to jump your bones. It's like 9 times out of 10, I get my face slapped. But that 10th time, it's magic. And then, you know, it was there I realized that, like, you know, kids are listening to me just because I was in their life and I was doing something impactful in their life. And, you know, that I planted a seed I didn't realize at the time. And so now, like, to where I'm at now, like that's all I'm left to do is plant seeds, you know, and now I know what I'm doing. And so that kind of like, you know, permeated when I was in the, you know, I still didn't really understand it even when I started the fraternity. Still didn't really understand it going through the fraternity, really didn't understand it until even after the fraternity, but something that's always been a growth mindset where I've kind of picked that skill up and honed it better to now the fact of just like, trying to plant seeds all day long and realizing also that some seeds are not going to grow, and that's okay. I can't, maybe that seed's not ready to grow yet. There are a lot of times when somebody tried to plant a seed with me and it didn't grow until like later. So, you know, that's all you can do, you know, so that's kind of like why I am the way I am.
Yeah, I resonate with that so much, being an educator and being a mentor myself with regards to, I call it links in the chain. Everybody everywhere is a link in the chain. Sometimes you're the first link. Sometimes you actually get to be that harvest. You get to see that growth and see the field just beyond fruitful. Sometimes it's like my only job is to push this one along. I'm just here to keep growing, keep watering, keep sun, but you're not going to get a whole bunch of reaction. And so, yeah, I've found that probably the most rewarding thing in my life with both my students and now my own children and my mentees and the likes. And so I've always thought that in my mind, understanding how rewarding it is, it's like, why isn't everybody everywhere doing this? And a lot of people are just like, hey, that's you, that's not me, type of thing. But I definitely see you walk that path and model that the same, especially in the fraternity with regards to NACT. And that was one of my questions, and you kind of answered it. Was that you most guys are kind of like undergrad years, in and out, and then you see people when you see people, but you've made it a priority and an effort to continue to give back and reach out and foster those relationships long after you graduated, and it's invaluable. I'm think maybe I might have told you before, but if not, and I'm sure you've heard it plenty of times, but NAC changed my life. And if it weren't for you and the other bros, the other founding fathers, and all the OGs, I would have never had that opportunity. It's great because I got to tell Sean Herrera the same thing just a week ago. But I have such a strong familial cultural foundation in my life, and when I went to Santa Clara, I found that in NAC just the same. And so I thank you for setting that up and establishing that and helping and to foster that and grow that even long after you were there. And then to take it a step further, since I left Santa Clara, when I lived in Dallas and then Florida, and then I traveled around the world a couple times, and every spot that I went, I was looking for that same community, the community I had in my home and the community I had with the bros. And I was never able to find it, to the extent that I moved back to Utah, and I now live 5 minutes from my parents' house, and I have that community once again. But the only other place that I've ever found it so true was with the brothers of Nu Alpha Kappa. And so I thank you for your efforts, because if somebody asks me today, hey, what's the most important thing in life? It's not a question for me anymore. It's easy. It's a community. Community is everything. Family is everything. Community is everything. And I believe that's what was demonstrated to me, taught to me, and embodied in these two places. There's nothing more important, and that's a big reason why I wanted to start this podcast, is because I want to give back. I want to catch up, but selfishly, I want to reconnect and rekindle those communities, because regardless of whether we're in the same physical location or whether we're talking or I'm just listening to somebody else, it's basically, I get that same feeling. Like, people who are listening to this right now, whether they were involved in this conversation or not, they are getting the same information that I'm getting, and it's absolutely invaluable. And so I hope that bros will hear this and listen and identify and learn some things too. But I definitely want to thank you for that. What have been some of the biggest challenges staying involved with the organization over the years, long after you've graduated, especially seeing that it's always run by 18 to 22-year-olds, and they're idiots?
Yeah. I think first and foremost, thank you for your words. That just kind of proves, that the social experiment that I wanted to create, you got 14 guys, you had 20 guys that had a vision, and then it came down to 14 guys. Still, everybody has a different way of interpreting that vision, and for me, like, to hear those comments, because my motivation for starting it was to just create a community that will help students who need that community get through school based on these pillars. There's no color attached to it. There's no ethnicity attached to it, but it's basically what it stood for. And then, so thank you for being, even if one person succeeded, then that's it.
Yeah.
And I remember like Daniel Fresquez, like, he was my ideal pledge, because I always, like, it was a battle I always lost, and that's fine. I should have lost it every time, but I hated freshman pledges. I still hate freshman pledges. We're in an environment where you can't afford to be exclusive and say no freshman pledges because you might die. But in a perfect scenario, like, I always had, so you should watch us for a year and see if it's something you like. And then Daniel Fresquez was that person. You always like this stray wolf that would just stay back and just watch it. And then after a year, he's like, yeah, I think I'm going to pledge. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, to answer your question about the biggest challenge, well, that's been a challenge for me, because it hasn't been a big challenge to stay visible. There's no mystery that I'm probably the most visible founding father out of the 14.
Mhm.
It comes down to, my own individual interpretation. Like, I can't speak for the other people. I just know, like, I care about it. And for me, like, I've actually felt bad because I finally kind of reached that point where, I have stepped away and just be like, it's going to do what it's going to do. There's really not much more I can do to be have an impact, and maybe it's just because of different variables that are happening in my life. Some of the things that have my time preoccupied in my personal life. Like, we've got a whole pledge class that's kind of came and gone, and I'm like, I don't know any of those guys, and that's been a lot of founding fathers feeling for a long time, and that's for me a fresh feeling. It's like being fresh in retirement, so to speak. So,
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't think it is hard to stay visible, to stay relevant, to stay connected. As long as, I always said that, this organization will treat you like a family, as I interpret it, that, you get out of that family what you put into it. If you don't care about it, it's not going to care about you. And if you do care about it'll care about you as much as you care about it. And you might find something else that you care about more, and hopefully you invest that passion that we would expect you to invest with our family. But if you're not available, then that's cool. Then we rely on the other people whose expectation it is to put in that effort. And that's normally the younger guys, the actives. And, we exist now as these, myths and ghosts that, come around and, show up at, as part of the marketing campaign, which is good. Or when, there's a crisis situation. Unfortunately, we had some kind of, some crisis situations that happened, during the heat of the pandemic. And, again, there's all these layers of stress that are already embedded that didn't help the situation any at the time. Just try to be there for the students and the young people, and try to see how to keep it going. So I mean, that's been the challenge. Is as different things come into your life, they take on a little more importance. And paying attention to, like, the organization that helped you once upon a time. You always have those ties, whether you actually have a literal tattoo, you have, like, an invisible tattoo, an invisible brand somewhere on you that says this, and whether I put this shirt on or not every day, I know it's there, and so, when I put this shirt on, I feel it's there. I feel it. It's like, when Superman puts on his shirt, he probably feels that the way that diamond's cut. When Batman puts his thing, he feels the swoops of the Batman. And you feel these letters. It's you feel them when they're on you, and it takes you back and reminds you. Like, I always tell people, like, especially when we talk with the young guys, that level one is just being in this fraternity, and getting through college is this whole other thing that's happening. And for me, it's really good to see that with our younger alumni. Unfortunately, we're moving into spaces where we're going to find ourselves more and more as we get older. This year, we buried our first brother in the past year. That's hard. It's hard to think about, it's just to think about, like, an independent life that you got a chance to know through our organization, got a chance to see this young man grow, but also to see the brothers in his microcosm, how they grieve, how they grow. Looking forward to seeing how they grow from this, how it makes their bond stronger. We have bros who have disagreed with things, and I've disagreed with bros of my own. There are bros that I'm not very close with, and I've always been okay with that. But you just there are certain times when you reach where you're just like, they're unnecessary weights to carry, and you have to move on and put those energies somewhere else and grow from them, and use them to help you weather the challenges of, like, losing. family members, whether they're, fraternal family members or whether they're, your real family, which is also fraternal.
What are some of your fondest memories from undergrad with regards to not necessarily just undergrad, but from those founding years with that founding pledge class in 92, 93?
Um, oh God. Yeah, it just, there was so much happening. We were, me and I was a sophomore. So it's like, I just kind of gotten in, finally got my feet underneath me. I was busy just loose as a freshman, and I was always loose, but, sophomore year, like I just had a different mindset, and then I was trying to figure it out. I had a girlfriend who was a junior, and she was trying to steer me right and trying to like watch over me and keep me moving in the right direction. But I was just kind of like, and what do I remember? I just remember like us just starting on this path. I just remember the first like meeting where, it was like a Metcha meeting, and Sean like they had like announcements at the end of Metcha, and Sean's like, "Hey, anyone want to be a part of a fraternity?" And I was just like, "What?" I was like, at that same time, we had like, Metcha was all we had, and we had like all these machistas that transferred in from De Anza, and they were all like political. We were just like, after freshman year, we were just like, dude, we were just like happy to see other brown people. Like, you're tripping. I'm not trying to be fucking stirring up shit. I'm lucky to be in this school, like tripping. And then like I started thinking about like, what we had at my high school. And I went to an all boys school, so it's pretty much a fraternity school. And then you had your cliques, and we had something in high school that kind of mirrored NAC, so it was a motivation. Like, all right, well, let's do this. Let's see what's up. Because I'd never joined a fraternity, and I hate fraternities still. But I was like, oh, I get to make this one. Like, oh, okay, let's go. Like I could join a fraternity I can make. I'm not joining no damn fraternity that somebody else made. Like, let's go. And then like, so I just kind of stuck with it. And I just said, if this ever doesn't make sense, then, I'll just quit. It's all good. And it always made sense. Even if it sucked, it made sense. Like, all right, whatever. And so what I remember is just like, I remember that I was the hardest partier probably out of all of them, like over the gamut of things to party with. But yet I was like the last one to break. And I just like, I was like, oh, like I was like that super pledge, like everyone's got a super pledge. Like that was me. And then I just remember like, oh, we're drinking now. Oh, we're doing this now. Oh, we're doing all this now. Oh, fuck you guys. And I just remember just being all pissed off. Like, I remember the day we were going to start pledging, the night we were taking our oath, like that day, I was like, I got hella weed to smoke. We're smoking hella weed today. and I'm like, I need to get this all out before we start. I need to get rid of all this. So it's like me and a couple of my dorm mates, and we were down at Benson just eating hella shit, brought hella shit back, and tried to go back for dinner. And yeah, it was fucking funny as hell. Then we took our oath and it was on.
Which one of the founding fathers were you closest to?
Ray Esquivel. He was my roommate.
Okay. You guys were roommates, and where at? In
San Filippo.
Okay.
In San Filippo. First floor, Lipo. They had a Unity House, and we had the United Nations, because our floor was like the first two guys were like black football players, and the next two guys, one was from like Hong Kong, the other one was from Singapore. Then it was like us. We were room 118, so we called ourselves the 118th Street Barrio. And then across the street was like a black friend, and then my Italian friend I went to high school with, who was my roommate my freshman year. This cool Chinese dude lived across. He was from like Palo Alto or something. And another dude was from Taiwan, through Hawaii. He was on our floor. So we were just all multicultural. So we don't need no damn Unity House. We got United Nations right here. And so, yeah, and me and Ray went to high school together. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, we knew each other, and yeah, we
Were you
ended
guys
up
were you
living
guys close in high school or?
close enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
like we were part of the same like clique that was similar to, NAC. So we decided to like, that's kind of his motivation for starting it. We got to start our own little Bellarmine NAC.
Among the founding fathers, there was a lot of diversity and personality, right?
Yes, very much so.
What were some of the roles that the guys played?
Let's see. Like Ray was like one of the
Which
more
Ray?
organized. Ray Esquidel was like more one of the organized ones. We can count on him to have everything on lock. Sean Herrera, he was more the face, kind of the salesman of the whole operation. And he liked to get in there and shuck and jive. And Sean Kopp would be like the motivation to get something done, the drive to get something done. Once he was focused on something, he had a drive. And he would be down. He was like one of the leaders of our cabinet. Alberto was like, he complimented Sean, but Alberto was always very mellow, very chill, very neutral, always taking kind of let's kind of see a wider perspective. Let's see.
What about Vince and Barrow and
Borrow,
Jim?
Borrow's always just been Borrow. I love Borrow. Borrow's just kind of like whatever is good, like let's go. Like, I'm gonna just be here and I'm gonna, I'm down for whatever. He didn't want to fight, he was just like, whatever you guys want to do, like let's do it. Chente was comic relief. Chente just had his own way about him. You just think of when you think about like sitcoms and you just have like these comic characters, just however they do stuff, like it's half of who they are, like a Kramer or like an Urkel or like that was kind of Chente, like whatever he did, and then you do it with a certain flair, just make it just freaking like hilarious. And like, we were always into like singing songs and memorize lyrics, but Chente would always get like the most mundane like background lyric, like as it's fading out. He like drop it in it and we'd be like singing it or something, just fucking around. He'd come over the top and be like, dude, seriously, that was in the song. Damn it. I miss Chente so much. We had a lot of like guys who would really just kind of go with the flow, like down for whatever, like whatever is cool. I remember one time we were trying to like do our like own step dance, and we were going to throw a party. We were going to do our little step, and we would like be practicing. We could never get it right. No one could agree on stuff. And then like, we had choreographer guys that were choreographing it. There were some guys, but then when some guys didn't like the choreography, then they'd be like, "Oh, I don't know if I could do that move. Like that move's like a little not on my friggin' level." And like whatever it is, and then that's just like we were still not in an age where mental growth was fully there for all of us. Especially still like beating, there's 14 of us, we were kind of fortunate enough to get across the finish line as it was. And so, guys are going to differ. I know, like I learned they were like that translated sometimes, like once we did cross and we were talking about different issues, that's where I learned a lot about like when you're lobbying for something, like not taking it personal, trying to just stay on the point, and sometimes, when you're in the democracy of the organization, you lose and you have to accept that you've lost and move on, even if you didn't win your case, and like get past it, and that translates into your career, and into your life, and it's, you don't really realize it at the time. I realize it now, but, like when you're, lobbying for something at work, how to get your point across without hurting somebody personally, trying to understand they might take it the wrong way. And but at the same time represent, like I represent strong. And so there's certain aspects where, people might not see what I'm advocating for because I advocate so strongly, but that's where I'm going to stand. And versus, circling back and checking in on somebody, if it doesn't go the way you want. Also, it translates into your relationship. When you're negotiating with your partner about what's in the best interest of maybe a certain situation, or a certain what's in the best interest of a certain child, and based on what we learn in education is how to differentiate instruction, and that should also hold true within your family. Not every kid is going to get the same upbringing. It has to be different based on their needs. And that's the challenge. And you have to learn that. You learn that through participation in the organization.
Absolutely. I love it. You still in touch with many of the founding fathers?
Ones that I do have contact with, I really only have contact because of social media.
Right.
Their variable participation, so as long as you got an account, I can reach out to you. I can, whether or not we're speaking, I can say, hey, are you there? Is the line here? Like, I don't know where Oscar is. I don't know where Chente is. I know Chris is out there on social media, like he pops up, I can reach out to him, but, I know he's there. Mikey's wherever he is. I see all his stuff that's going on. He seems happy. I'm happy for him, at the end of the day, that's what you always want, is,
Absolutely.
that person to be happy with whatever they're doing. I'd love to see the way, like, some of the bros grew up and where their lives are now, where their focus is now. And based on what we were focused on as kids, it's different. It's cool. It's awesome. It's, great to see that. Great to see, when, somebody who had a vision of what they wanted to do versus what they're doing now, and be able to watch that grow up and happen. One of my pledge brothers, and that's awesome too. And some kind of, again, they fall off the grid. They go like Jose Olivares. I know, like, he got married. I know that from what I hear, he's got a couple kids. And, his brother-in-law was the real estate agent that sold me my house. And so, like, I hear from, because he has a contact with my ex-sister-in-law. So, I check in through the Vine, whether it's a grape one or a virtual one.
Yeah. Yeah. We're basically up on our hour, and I want to be respectful of your time. I greatly appreciate you taking the time to hang. I got a couple of rapid fire, kind of fun questions before we finish up. First one would be 5 favorite artists.
5 favorite artists: Bob Marley.
Nice.
Let's see, Denzel Washington.
Nice.
Tom Hanks.
There you go.
Yeah, I was just like thinking about these guys the other day. Let's see. God, what is that? 2 more artists. Cypress Hill, big artist of mine, and I was a big fan of. And probably Prince.
Dig it.
Probably Prince. Yeah.
Dig it. My brother and I are always having the Tom Hanks Denzel Washington debate. So that's a good one. They're both amazing. It's never one sucks or anything, but it's always a good one.
They had Heat on the other day, and I was thinking about De Niro because they just saw him in Godfather 2, being young Vito, and then I saw him in Meet the Parent. I was thinking about his range. The other one was up there.
Big range. 5 dinner guests, dead or alive.
Oh, let's see. Bob Marley. Probably Barack Obama. Beyonce.
Nice.
Montezuma first.
Wow. Wow.
And let's see. Maybe Harriet Tubman.
Wow. Impressive. Because I'm talking to you, I don't ask everybody this question, but because I'm talking to you, top five, starting five NBA all time.
Starting five NBA. So it's got to be MJ at the 2, and then probably by that it means Curry's at the 1. I mean, Pippen would have to be at the 3. Shaq would be center. And power forward would probably be it'd be a toss-up between whether I wanted something sound and dependable like Tim Duncan or whether I just come with KG. I'd probably come with KG because KG's got what I like. So KG.
I like it. I like it. And then, so what are you looking forward to most about 2022? We're on the cusp of the new year.
Just want my daughter to successfully get through her freshman year of college, and get a good foundation for her to kind of enjoy the summer and re-enter with a strong understanding of what the college landscape's about. I'd like to kind of finish the school year with comfortable feeling of growth, and then try to really get on some different goals that I've pseudo set to actually set them and then attack them. Primarily kind of maybe getting my math credential cleared up so I can do single subject math, because I like the math part of my day. I really just don't enjoy the ELA part. Math is just something I really enjoy. So hopefully I can do more of that in the future. If people tell me to go back, if I can go back to my old spot, would I? No, because of the variables that got me there. It was like budget cuts and I'm like overqualified. That's why I got kind of punished and sent away, because I could be moved somewhere else. So I'm just going to focus on what I can do. My son is getting married this April, so
Wow.
hoping that he puts all that together and helping him figure out what his next moves are. There's a lot going on, and then just trying to service the health of my grandmother. My grandmother's dealing with some health issues circling around like dementia and Alzheimer's. Just being able to service that appropriately and trying to take care of her at the same time.
Fantastic. Last question. So who should I have on the podcast? And but you got to help me get them on.
Who should you have on the podcast?
And that can be inside or outside the ADA chapter.
Oh, okay. Well, I definitely think to know a bunch of the Santa Clara history, you'd probably want to speak with Arturo Olivas. You can definitely get in contact with him. Gustavo Serrano, probably Ray Esquivel would be a good person to talk to. I can put you in contact with him. I have that guy's number. Think about our alpha class, Freddie Barra would be a good one. And Manny Ruiz, Johnny Avila, we got some great betas. All 4 of them, the Ninja Turtles, they all have bring an interesting perspective. And I do believe I can contact all of them. So you let me know who you need. And
what about outside of the ADA chapter?
Let's see, outside of the ADA chapter. So Arturo and Gus, let's see. Danny Oliveira or Ruben Oliveira from San Diego. Let's see. Candelario Franco would be definitely somebody you want to get in here. And Jason Navarro, my big brother, Javier Garcia, also known as Trigger. He would be a great resource. Fernando Beltran. Definitely somebody who's great history with the ADA chapter. Viejo, let's see, who else? Pedro Avila from Fresno. would be a good one as well. Carlos Arredondo from Fresno would be a good one. Let's see, what other ones? We got Sonoma. Yeah, there's lots of guys from Sonoma that I could pick up. Yeah, man, you just let me know a chapter, and if it's his first 8, I might be able to have a perspective. Like after that, I don't know about chapter 30, whatever we're at now. Like everyone talk, oh, I'm from the Theta Alpha chapter. Like I don't know what the hell that is. Like, what school are you from, bro? Like, oh, I'm from Monterey. Okay, good. Yeah, I remember that one.
Fantastic, brother. All right, man. Well, I wish you the best happy new year to you and your family. I hope you had a Merry Christmas. And I just appreciate you taking the time. And I hope that this can just be the beginning of us keeping in closer contact, man. I appreciate your influence. I appreciate everything you've done. And I look forward to perhaps helping out with any project you got going on too.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, with the loss of a friend in the past year, it's definitely important and a bro. As a matter of fact, it's important that we get all this stuff kind of out, documented, and be able to create some sort of historical record for future generations. So I appreciate you taking out the time to do so. So you take care of yourself and be blessed in the new year.
All right. Peace, brother. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Until next time, bros. That's my story and I'm sticking to it.